What's up, everybody? Welcome to another video and another tutorial in Nomad Sculpt. Unlike last time where I just kind of briefly talked about what I was doing, I'm kind of going to break down a little bit more in depth on how I sculpt in there, brush over, no pun intended, what brushes I used. But I'm gonna go make this a small mini series. I think it's only going to be a two-parter, but maybe it'll be three. I don't know. We'll see. But let's get started. All right, so now we are doing our form block-ins. And form block-ins is basically the most important part to get your, I would say, anatomy or just overall sculpt correct. Because if your forms aren't blocked in correctly, then it's just going to look completely off. And even though this is an early stage, you can always edit your forms later on, but this is to get a good structural base in for you. From here, I'm using the regular standard brush with one of the edited fall offs. I think it is like POV 4 or something like that. I'll put the name in the video for you. But we are now using that and the clay brush to do landmark blockouts. And these landmarks are like noses, brows, cheekbones, things like that. They're going to really help you start nailing in your likeness sculpts or just your sculpts in general. That's how I usually take on my heads, is I really start finding those landmarks first, and then everything falls into place after that. So again, I'm only using the clay brush right now to build up forms, and then I'm using move brush, and really move, standard brush with the modifier, and clay brush are really the only brushes I use outside of like maybe pinch or pull or some of the other ones, but those aren't really used that long. The majority of the sculpt is strictly move, clay, and the brush with a modifier on it to make it a little bit sharper, kind of like damn standard and ZBrush. But you know, I don't want to keep on saying damn standard because it's not damn standard, but it's just a standard brush in here. So now we're going to go ahead and start polishing our landmarks. This is basically starting, I would say, not first pass detail, but everything that you started to form out now, fine tuning them, because then we will start detailing later. But this is, you know, moving back with the move brush and pushing and pulling, and layering in an extra layer of landmarks, like, you know, like big wrinkles, kind of like your frown mark or your around your cheeks. Again, I'm getting those landmarks clearly defined now, making them more prominent. Now we're cutting in with the regular brush with the modifier to make the teeth, flatten things out with smooth. I mean, my process is very, very simple. I mean, this is where I go back to, you guys really need to work on your anatomy and understanding it. You can draw it, you can look at different videos, but really take in how anatomy is built out and structured. I know it sounds, I don't know, I guess when you're a beginner, it sounds very mystical. And when you're hearing somebody say it, because I felt that way when I used to watch my teachers, you know, do anatomy or draw anatomy, sculpt anatomy, whatever. But it comes down to practice. Like, there's no one click solution, no one button all. This is years of training, of, you know, consistently sculpting a head over and over and over and over again. Like, some of the other parts of anatomy I'm not that great at, but heads I know I can do pretty well because I do them all the time. I mean, I think that's the fastest thing I can get done compared to the rest of the anatomy. I mean, and when I'm really, really grooving on something and I'm just, you know, pulling stuff out of my butt, it's I can do a head in like 8 minutes. That's pretty defined. I mean, that might be slow to some people, but that's pretty fast to me from where I was at when I was in school. But everybody learns at their own pace. So now at this point, we are putting in some balls to define the eyeballs. so I can start building out the eyelids. And this is really my first pass in details. So eyelids, things like that, maybe some smaller wrinkles. As you can see, I already did the wrinkles in his lip and his chin, or his upper lip, I should say, and his chin. And that's more just placeholders right now, because I'll start later in the next video to really flush those out and make them a little bit more deeper and interesting. Right here, I'm just using the clay brush. I'm just clay brushing it out, building it out. You're gonna notice I don't really go into the subtool menu, or not subdivision menu, a lot. What I do is I mostly just remesh, and that's always been my workflow in ZBrush when I was using ZBrush still. I just mess with the resolution, and as I need more detail, I remesh again and again and again. Depending again on the detail level, I will adjust either upper or go lower on the resolution to make sure that the geometry is optimized, but at the same time I have enough to work with, because I don't know how exactly the programming language or the programming is done in here. When you start to subdivide a lot, it really chugs down to where if you were using like Dynamesh, you can get pretty far with just remeshing in there. So I mostly remesh until the very end, or unless I absolutely need to subdivide. But yeah, remeshing is pretty much my best friend in these programs. I don't really use dynamic topology because when depending on how much detail you're doing and how you sculpt, it could chug down the system, but that is only in my past experience using dynamic topology. And now you see I'm going back in and I'm playing with forms. So like I said, you can always come back in later to mess with the forms, but the form blocking is probably one of the most important steps to start nailing down your likenesses or just sculpts in general. And it's really all patience, guys. I mean, I used to remember sculpting when I was in school, and even early on in my career, I would always just want to try to get things done as fast as possible. But you really can't, because if you rush it, unless you're just like a master artist, you can't rush things, because you really need to pay attention to those forms and how light and shadow is affecting it. Does it look like it's coming further out from on the cheekbones? Does it look, how deep does it look? Light and shadows really help you figure out what's going on in the drawing. So really take your time, slow things down, and pay attention to how the lighting is. And it's fine to be sloppy, because you can always smooth things later. I know I always sound like a broken record, and it's just like form and shape, form and shape, form and shape, but they really are important. Everything can be broken down into primitive shapes, and if you can understand those shapes and forms, then you can piece them together to build, whatever you want. All right, everybody, so that is it for today. In our next video, we are going to finish him up. We're going to get the crown done. We're going to finish these details, get those teeth nailed in, and call it a day on Thanos. I mean, these are pretty simple sculpts. I plan to do more robust sculpts in Nomad. You might not be able to do a full game pipeline in it yet, but being able to do stuff for 3D printing is amazing, and being able to do it like this on an iPad or an Android tablet is awesome. Anyways, everybody, you have a good night, great day, great weekend, whenever, wherever you're at, and I will talk to you later. Peace.